In this video, we will continue with the chapter 2 in chemistry, that is acid, bases and salts. Now remember I told you a few topics back that we will understand why NaOH is a base and HCl is an acid. Now this is the topic which will help us understand why HCl is an acid and NaOH is a base. This is where we'll observe what happens to an acid or a base in a water solution. Let us understand the first equation here. HCl, which is hydrochloric acid, reacts with water, H2O. Now this gives us something called as a hydronium ion. Now what is a hydronium ion, you may ask? So you've previously observed that an acid solution produces hydrogen ions, which is H+. Now H+ cannot exist in that state for a long time, which is why the H+ ion in the water combines with a molecule of water because of its instability and becomes a hydronium ion. So H3O+ is nothing but a combination of hydrogen ion with water. So hydronium ion is one of our products, and Cl-, which is the chlorine ion, is another product that is formed. So an acid, when reacts with water, gives us a hydronium ion. Now let us observe the equations for a base. Sodium hydroxide, which is NaOH, when reacted with water, gives us the sodium plus ion and the hydroxide ion, which is the OH minus ion. So bases generate an OH minus ion and acids, they generate a hydronium ion or an H plus ion. So what you observe is that anything with an hydroxide is mostly a base, because you know when a hydroxide would react with water, it would surely give you an OH minus ion. Now acid does not have any OH. Instead, it has an H, in this case an HCl, because of which H plus ion was produced. Now you know the difference between an acid and a base and how to identify them. So when you drop an acid in water, you get a hydronium ion. And when you drop a base in water, you get an OH minus ion. Now bases which are soluble in water are called alkalis. These alkalis are soapy to touch and bitter and also corrosive. And remember, this is a warning: never try to taste any alkalis or even try to touch them, as they may cause harm. Now that we know what acid and bases generate in water, let's look at the neutralization reaction in another way. Now, as we previously learnt, when an acid reacts with a base to give us salt and water, then it is called as a neutralization reaction. Now we recently understood that an acid gives us a hydrogen ion or a hydronium ion, and a base gives us the OH minus ion. Or we can also say that an acid is usually represented as HX, H being the hydrogen and X being any other element. Remember, the H is important. H is what makes it an acid. So to represent acid in general, it is HX. Then we have a base which is represented as MOH. M can be any element, but OH has to be present. Now HX reacts with MOH to give us MX, which are the two elements in this case, and water is one of the products. Now why was water formed in this case? Because the H plus ion from the acid reacted with the OH minus ion of the base. That is why H plus OH minus gives us H2O. Now the process of dissolving an acid or base in water is highly exothermic, which means it can produce a lot of heat. So you must be very careful while adding acid. It must be added slowly to water with constant stirring. There are always warning signs given on most of the acidic cans where it says that the acids are to be poured into water, but not the water into the acids. Remember, if you try to pour water into an acid, that might splash right out of there and cause a lot of damage. Now let's talk about dilution. Mixing an acid or a base with water results in the decrease of concentration of hydronium ion or the OH minus ion per unit volume. Such a process is called as dilution, and the acid or the base is called diluted. Now let's talk about how strong are acids and bases. To indicate this, we make use of a universal indicator. This universal indicator is a scale for measuring the H plus ion concentration in a solution called the pH scale. Here P stands for Potenz, which is a German word for power. Therefore, pH indicates how powerful is the H plus ion concentration in the solution. Now, on the pH scale, we can measure the pH generally from 0 to 14. 0 being very acidic and 14 being very alkaline. Now, remember what I told you about alkalis? These are bases which are soluble in water. Don't forget that. Now, this pH is simply a number which indicates the acidic or basic nature of a solution. pH for a neutral solution is 7. Now, what is a neutral solution? It is something that is neither acidic or basic in nature. So, as we go towards 0 from 7, we are moving towards the more acidic solutions. And as we go from 7 to 14, we are moving towards the more basic solutions. Now we talk about the importance of pH in everyday life. Do you think plants and animals are pH sensitive? Now our human body works within the pH range of 7 to 7.8, which is almost neutral. So our body works within the neutral line zone. Talking about the water bodies, when the pH of rainwater is less than 5.6, it is called acid rain. I'm sure you must have heard about acid rain. Now, when this acid rain flows into rivers, it lowers the pH of river water. And due to this lower pH, survival of all the aquatic animals becomes very difficult. Talking about the pH in our digestive system, our stomach produces hydrochloric acid, which helps in digestion of food without harming the stomach. Now, during indigestion, the stomach produces too much acid, and this causes pain and irritation. Now, to get rid of this, we use antacids. They neutralize the excess acid which is caused due to indigestion. Magnesium hydroxide is one of those antacids. pH change as cause of tooth decay. Now your tooth would start to decay when your pH of mouth is less than 5.5. Now less than 5.5 meaning it is trying to be more acidic, and that should not happen. The bacteria present in mouth produces acids by degradation of sugar and food particles. Now the best way to prevent this would be to clean your mouth after eating food, and also by brushing twice a day. Self-defense by animals and plants through chemical warfare. You must have observed bee stings, right? These bee stings leaves an acid which causes pain and irritation. Use of any mild bases such as baking soda on this tongue area gives relief. Talking about salts, salts are formed by the combination of hydrochloric acid and sodium hydroxide, as we have previously observed. They combine to form sodium chloride. This is the salt that is used in our daily food. Seawater contains many salts dissolved in it. NaCl, which is sodium chloride, is separated from these salts. The large crystals are often brown due to impurities. This is called rock salt. Rock salt is mined like coal. Now, talking about common salt, this is the raw material for chemicals that we use daily, like baking soda, washing soda, bleaching powder, and NaOH, which is sodium hydroxide. Now, what happens when electricity is passed through an aqueous solution of sodium chloride, which is a salt? It decomposes to form NaOH, which is sodium hydroxide, and that is a base. Now, this process is called the chloroalkali. It is called so because of the products formed. So, looking at the chemical equation, NaCl reacts with H2O to give NaOH plus Cl2 plus H2. Bleaching powder. Chlorine is produced during electrolysis of the aqueous solution of sodium chloride. This chlorine gas is used for the manufacture of bleaching powder. Looking at the chemical equation, CaOH twice, which is calcium hydroxide, reacts with a molecule of chlorine, which gives us CaOCl2, which is bleaching powder, plus water. Now, where is bleaching powder used? They are used for cotton and linen in textile industries. They are also used as oxidizing agents in chemical industries. They also help in making drinking water free from germs. Baking soda. Baking soda has a chemical name of sodium bicarbonate. It is a chemical compound with the formula NaHCO3. This sodium bicarbonate is a white solid that is crystalline, but it often appears as a fine powder. Now, how is baking soda formed? We have sodium chloride, which is nothing but common salt, reacting with water and carbon dioxide, and also ammonia. These compounds are the reactants that form the product of baking soda, which is NaHCO3. Along with NaHCO3, we have a byproduct formed, which is NH4Cl. And this is ammonium chloride. Now, I'm sure you must have performed the volcanic eruption experiment in your school. The lava that came out of your volcano was because of baking soda. Now, let's talk about how this eruption happens. So, when this baking soda, which is NaHCO3, comes in contact with the hydrogen ion, which is H+, it gives us carbon dioxide, water, and a sodium salt of acid. This carbon dioxide that is formed in the product side, this causes the rise in the volcanic eruption. Have you ever tried to bake a cake? The same reaction takes place here as well. The carbon dioxide formed in the product side can cause bread or cake to rise, making them soft and spongy. When Na2CO3, which is sodium carbonate, reacts with water, it gives us something called the washing soda, whose chemical equation is given as Na2CO3.10H2O. The uses of washing soda are that it's used in glass, soap, and paper industries. They are also used for removing the permanent hardness of water. Plaster of Paris, or as we call it, POP. We get POP from something called gypsum. CaSO4 dot half H2O is the plaster of Paris that is formed with water using gypsum, whose chemical equation is given as CaSO4 dot 2H2O.